Today, guys, we're going to be covering some of the most fun running backs to use in EA Sports College Football 25 as we build up to the new game. Now I have to set a little bit of a restriction for this video because I didn't do it in my quarterback video, which, by the way, go watch that. I've got a fun teams to rebuild video. If I can speak English, that's apparently really hard to do. Go watch those videos. I think they're really good videos. I think you'll enjoy them. And we're going to have a lot of content coming for EA Sports College Football 25. So consider subscribing to the channel, liking, sticking around. I think you'll like it here if you like rebuilding content and college football content. But the restrictions for today's video are going to be, I'm looking at guys under the 85 overall mark that I expect. I'm kind of projecting a little bit with that. Some of these guys might land a little bit higher than that, but you already know who Ollie Gordon is. He's going to be a 99. He's one of the best players, if not the best player in the entire country. We've got guys like Trevor Etienne, Quinshon Judkins, CJ Baxter, Hookem, Le'Veon Moss, not Hookem. But these incredible backs are not going to be on the list because you're only going to get them for a very short period of time, or they're going to be at super big programs. But falling in with that, some of these guys are going to be at big programs, but they're going to be a little bit more buried on the depth chart because I assume in an EA-based system, if you're buried on the depth chart, you have a potential of transferring out of the school. So these are going to be some portal candidates and some smaller Power 4, which feels very weird to say Power 4. RIP Pac-12 After Dark, we will miss you greatly. But smaller Power 4 schools, guys like that. Didn't go as deep into the group of 5 because it's just kind of hard to project running backs. Liberty has some really good ones like Quentin Cooley. There's some good backs out there. I mean, you're going to find a lot of familiarity once you get the game in your hands, but hard to project that right now, so I went with a lot of Power 4 guys. But either way, enough yapping from me. Let's go ahead and hop into the list. Starting off this list, I'm going to be coming in here at number 10 with Bernett. Bernett is going to be a true freshman this season for the Houston Cougars, and that's why I feel like he's ideal. Houston is a team that could be one of those super fun to rebuild schools. They're going to have incredible uniforms, and they're not the most talented while in a new Big 12. So there's plenty of room to grow with this school, plenty of room to grow with Jamarian, and Jamarian is a very, very talented back at about 6'1", 220 pounds. He held offers out of Auburn, Alabama, Arkansas, pretty much a lot of the SEC schools, but he decided that he was going to go down to Houston and play for the Cougars, and that just makes an ideal selection for a list like this because I'm not trying to go too overpowered with the teams, and Houston's definitely not, but building off of a frame with speed and athleticism like this, he could become one of the most powerful running backs to use in the game. Coming in at number 9, do we have any Minnesota fans in the building? I hope we do. You commented on one of the last videos, but it's not the reason I'm putting him here. It's going to be Darius Taylor. This is somebody who could be a really, really fun, underrated to use back in the game because he came out last year with a struggling program like Minnesota, and he was very good. He averaged 6 yards a carry on 800 yards rushing as a true freshman. You heard that right. He's going to be a sophomore this next coming up year. I can't put up the Minnesota highlight tape because YouTube will take it down. So we're not going to do that. But Darius Taylor, he could be a very, very fun building block to that Minnesota roster, coming in at about 5'9", 210 pounds. I mean, he's stocky. He's a little bit of a bowling ball. It's kind of what you like when you're trying to run an offense. And he is a very capable receiver as well. So being able to have that dual threat out of the backfield, being able to catch the ball. And I mean, you can see the home run speed even in high school. So Darius Taylor is definitely a prime candidate to help you start one of these rebuilds out real nice. With number 8, we are headed up to Cougar Country. Shout out my guy, Zach Wilson, for this number 8 spot. I mean, all jokes aside, we're headed to BYU with LJ Martin. LJ Martin in a new forming Big 12 with the BYU roster kind of makes for an ideal scenario to do a rebuild. And LJ Martin is a very, very talented back. He's going to be a true sophomore, and he's a very big back that can do it all. He's a 3-down guy. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. You can see he's returning punts in these high school highlights. And he's 6'2", 230 pounds. You're going to notice a theme with a lot of the guys on this list. I like my backs big and fast. That's how you like it. You want these Derrick Henry hybrids where these guys are huge and they're able to run through people. That's what you're going to get with LJ Martin, and just the talent across the board, being able to catch the ball, run the ball, return kicks. He's going to be the true highlight of a roster like BYU. As much as it pains me with number 7 on the list, I got to put him on here. That's going to be Reuben Owens, Texas A&M running back. He is a little bit buried on the depth chart, so I put him on here for a multitude of reasons. He was the number 2 running back in his recruiting class, but he's buried on a depth chart with a guy like Le'Veon Moss ahead of him, to where I could see him entering the transfer portal. I will also say this, and this is not shade at you Aggie fans. There's no disrespect intended with this statement. It is still a little bit of a rebuild for the Aggies. So even taking over the Aggies in, say, an online dynasty or just your offline dynasty, if you're a fan of the idea of it, it still wouldn't hurt to be able to do. And then have a guy like this in the program and try and keep him out of the portal. But main reason he's on this list is because he could be a portal candidate, being buried a little bit on that depth chart because of his youth. He's going to be a true sophomore this year, I believe, and he's got great speed, great vision. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can do it all pretty much. He's not as big as a lot of the other backs on this list, but he is pretty solid size. I mean, he's a very, very talented back. I mean, he was compared to Rashad Penny by 24/7 Sports, and I think that's an ideal comparison because there's nothing he really can't do. And Rashad Penny, he was a little overdrafted, but I mean, it stands true. There wasn't a lot that Rashad Penny could not do. Moving up on the list to the number 6 spot, we got a dog, and that's going to be Roderick Robinson II. He actually landed at the University of Georgia, but I'm not putting him on here because you want to use Georgia. Roderick Robinson is somebody that I could highly see transferring in the way that the transfer system probably works in the game. I'm going to assume if guys are buried on depth charts and they are underclassmen like Roderick Robinson is, they would have a high potential of transferring. Now, to move on to Roderick Robinson and why you would want him in your program, he's 6 foot, 245 pounds. If you want Derrick Henry at home, we have Derrick Henry at home. This dude is massive, and he keeps you away from this just like air raid bullshit propaganda that you're seeing. Throw the ball all over the field, get these passing yards. No, we don't do that around here. We run the ball and we play the game the right way. And Roderick Robinson II can easily lead you to playing the game the right way. Because, I mean, he's got all the power in the world. He's honestly pretty fast at that size. I mean, I would be pretty scared with somebody this big moving that quick coming at me. So this is somebody I think you can probably get out of the portal. I'll say it again. A lot of portal candidates on this list, but Roderick Robinson might be the best portal candidate. Moving up on the list, I've got a guy that a lot of you are going to be very familiar with, and it's not because of his ability in high school where he's one of the fastest players on the field, he's got incredible hands, this or that. You're going to be familiar with him because he just came from Colorado, and that's going to be Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards was committed and played his first season with the Colorado Buffaloes, but he decided to leave the building and go ahead and rejoin the home area Kansas State Wildcats. And I love that pick because if you saw my quarterback video, and if you didn't see my quarterback video, you can go click in the description. It's probably there. It's a really good video about fun QBs to use. But pair him up with Avery Johnson, you have one of the most dynamic backfields humanly possible by taking over the Kansas State Wildcats. I mean, Dylan Edwards is somebody that's going to come in and he's going to have 94 plus speed, I would imagine. He's going to be very, very fast. Think of, honestly, kind of a Tavon Austin or Michael James type because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. There's so many things that he can do and he's just capable of. It is an ideal running back to be used. And, I mean, you can see from the highlights here, he is incredibly fast. Dylan Edwards, one of the most fun players in college football for years to come. He's only going to be a sophomore this year, so you get plenty of time to use him. I might have to do something with Kansas State during this year because it's going to be very, very fun to be able to use Dylan Edwards. Coming in at number 4, I apologize, my Texas bias. It's shown again. I'm sorry. I'm a L YouTuber. I get it. I understand. All jokes aside, though, we have Jerick Gibson. He was the number 1 running back in the country this past cycle, and that's why I've got him on here because he landed at Texas, and if you know anything about Texas football, like I do, and many of you do, they have C.J. Baxter and they have Jaden Blue. Both formerly 5-star running backs, depending on what websites you look at. Jaden Blue's a junior, and C.J. Baxter is a true sophomore. C.J. Baxter in game is probably going to be upwards of 88 plus overall, if I had to guess. And he's going to be one of the best backs in the game. Jaden Blue, he's probably going to be around an 82, 83. So that's going to let Jerick Gibson fall around the 78 range. And there's going to be other backs, and Texas is going to be able to recruit well. So what am I getting at here? He's not going to be at Texas. I don't think in the game that he's going to stick at Texas. If he does, apologize for putting him on the list. But I can highly suspect a guy like this might enter the transfer portal and you'd be able to pick him up for one of your programs. He's a guy that comes out of IMG Academy in Florida. So you rebuilding USF, UCF, some of the Georgia area schools, things like that. That kind of an area, you could have a high potential of getting Jerick Gibson to your program, and I think you ideally would want to, because he's a guy that ran a 4.5 in high school, which, if you know anything about high school ball, running a 4.5 is very fast, and he comes in at about 220 pounds to pair with that. This is what looks like it would be a dominant college running back almost anywhere in the country as a true freshman. So he doesn't need to be buried on that depth chart. If he hits the portal, grab this guy up. You're going to have a ton of fun with him, and you're going to have a 99 overall running back by the time it's all said and done. Coming in at number 3 on the list, we're going to be headed up to Iowa State. And I got to put away, how much Iowa State has hurt me in the past to put him on the list. It's going to be Abusama the third. He is a 5'10", 200-pound, true sophomore back who is just simply electric. His best career game was last year against Kansas State in that beautiful snow game. You see the highlights all the time about that game, where he rushed for 276 yards and 3 touchdowns. So if that tells you anything, he's got bell cow potential to keep my true power runners happy. And he's somebody that's just going to be very, very fun to use. In an Iowa State rebuild where you've got Rocco Becht at quarterback, you've got potential in a new Big 12. We're seeing a lot of Big 12 picks on this list, but I think it's kind of warranted because there's some good running backs in the Big 12. Guys that I'm even leaving off this list because of restrictions, like Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech and Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State. This is kind of becoming a running back conference if you're following the theme of this video. I won't go that far, but Abusama III is assured to meet all your power run dreams. He's a very talented guy. Coming in with the number 2 spot on this list, we're headed up to Boise, and that's going to be with the Boise State Broncos. And this one's a little bit of a weird one, to say the least, because it's Ashton Jeanty. I don't know if I said his name, correctly. Correct me in the comments if I didn't, because, I'll say these guys' names right. But Ashton Jeanty is probably one of the best running backs in the country, but he's also one of the best running backs in the country that most of you have never heard of. And he came out of high school as a 4-star prospect, and he went to Boise State, which could be a questionable decision being that high of a star rating, but it has paid off. Ashton Jeanty has looked like one of the better running backs in the country, and he's potentially going to be a higher draft pick coming up. So I cheated a little bit with these next 2 selections, because he is a junior, but you're going to get 2 years with him in a rebuilding Boise State program, and he gets paired up with one of my favorite and one of my more fun quarterbacks to use in the new game in Malachi Nelson, who just transferred in. So you can have a very, very fun offense with these 2 guys. Jeanty's a 3-down back. He's plenty capable of anything and everything. Catching the ball out of the backfield, running the ball, keeping the power run dreams alive. Ashton can certainly fulfill that. And I hope he's not too high of an overall, because I was trying to keep this one a secret, but too many people might know about it. All right, coming in at number 1 on the list, West Virginia fans rejoice, you've been mentioned on the channel another time this week. And that's going to be with C.J. Donaldson. C.J. Donaldson is a converted tight end who plays running back now. So what does that mean for you out of the backfield? He's going to be able to catch the football, and he's going to be able to run the football. He's going to be able to block, which I don't know how much that's going to matter in the game, really. But, pass pro is nice to have. But C.J. Donaldson is 6'2", about 240 pounds. He has had a little bit of the injury bug over the past year, but he gets paired up with a perfect backfield tandem. I can't remember the guy's first name. I want to say it's Jaheim White. Could be totally wrong about that, but it's an ideal backfield tandem. I'm not including that, but it's just, something to consider. CJ Donaldson, though, he's very, very athletic, good hands, good size. Think of Steven Jackson when you think of CJ Donaldson. I think that's the best pro comp that I can give. And if you were alive to see Steven Jackson play, the guy had finesse, he had size, he had strength. Just an unreal talent. So think of that when you think of CJ Donaldson. All right, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave a comment if you want to see me do a video where I go over some of the most fun receivers. Because, again, we're just kind of, we're kind of grabbing at content, trying to do something for the new game. We've got a coaching carousel on NCAA 14 coming out very, very soon. I've already got the first season recorded and edited. I just got to script it and voice it over. And we're going to have that thing coming out once or twice a week. So if you would consider subscribing, if you enjoy rebuilding and just NCAA content in general, it would mean the world to me. We're on the road to 2,000 subs now. We hit 1,000 recently, and I really greatly appreciate that. The hotel grind has been real. You got to subscribe for that in general. The dedication, we're in a hotel room. We're not on vacation, but we are in a hotel room, and we're having to record these things, edit them, and upload them off of hotel Wi-Fi. That's how you know I'm committed to you. So if if you could leave us, subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it a ton. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm out.